The sun barely peeks over the cracked brick towers of Hollow Point Heights. The kind of project where the street lights stay on even in daylight because they know better. On the courtyard benches, two loud talking cousins, 556 and 223. They holding court like they've been running the block since forever. 556 got that, I've been outside energy, you know what I'm saying? Pacing back and forth with his fitted low. While 223, he just laid back, you know what I'm saying? Toothpick in his mouth, talking slick like he's the brains of the operation. Man, this is our hood, 556 says, chest puff. We've been holding it down since before these new little calibers even knew what recoil was. 223 nods. Facts, bro. We the ones folks call when things get precision. Ain't nobody replacing us. We OGs out here. Just then, a shadow steps from the alley. 300 Blackout. Tall, quiet, hoodie up, smooth stride. The type that don't gotta talk loud to get respect. 556 squints. Hey yo, who mans is this? You looking real tactical, my boy. 223 smirks. Yeah, you walk around like you special ops or something? This the projects. This ain't no night vision commercial. 300 Blackout chuckles. Hands up. Hey, chill. I ain't here for no takeover. I just moved in, trying to get to know the neighborhood. 556 gives him the side eye. That's what they all say before they start trying to take over the block. 300 shakes his head. Bro, I ain't replacing nobody. I'm just versatile. I do a little subsonic, a little suppressed work, a little close quarters, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to add to the team. Meanwhile, 223 laughing. Oh, so you the quiet kid type. The one that be sneaking around like a ninja. 300 grins. Better quiet than loud and confused like y'all. Y'all be flying all over the place like pew 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 with no stability. 556 steps forward. Hey yo, watch your mouth, little Blackout. I'm fast for a reason. Speed kills, boy. 300 shrugs. Speed cool. But sometimes folks want that thump. That I'm here energy. Feel me? 223 jumps in. Man, you only been here 5 minutes and already talking like you built the projects. 300 laughs. Nah, I'm just saying. I ain't here to steal your shine. I'm just trying to be a partner. A teammate. A little tag team action. Y'all handle the long lanes. I'll handle the close corners. We can coexist. 556 and 223 look at each other. 556 say, so you ain't trying to be the new king of Hollow Point Heights? 300. King? Bro, I'm just trying to get a parking spot. 223 cracks up. Alright, that was funny, I'll give you that. 300 smirks. Plus, y'all need me. Y'all loud as hell out here. Whole block know when y'all show up. Me? I'm the one they call when they trying to be low key. 556 rolls his eyes. Man, whatever. You still new. You still gotta earn your stripes. 300 nods. Bet. But I ain't your enemy. I'm your upgrade. 223 whistles. Ooh, he talking spicy. 556 finally cracks a smile. Alright, Blackout. Alright, you cool. But don't get too comfy. This still our hood. 300 pats him on the shoulder. Say less, bro. I ain't here to take over. I'm here to build. The three calibers walk off toward the corner store, roasting each other the whole way. 223. Boy, you built like a short AR pistol. 300. And you built like a budget ammo box. 556. Man, shut up. Both of y'all built like y'all came from a pawn shop. And just like that, Hollow Point Heights got a new trio. Loud, quiet, fast, heavy, and all ridiculous in their own way.
fight so long, and then we gotta move straight forward cause we fight so strong. So when right go wrong, just say a little prayer, get your money, man, life goes on.
I'm hopeful, yes I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it, let it take you away. And be hopeful, hopeful, and he'll make a way. I know it ain't easy, but that's okay.
Woo! That was some drama. But the drama doesn't stop there, okay? That actually kind of depicts in real life the relationship that 300 blackout shooters versus 5.56 and 2.23 shooters have, okay? 300 blackout, when it was first adopted and first introduced into the market, was not widely accepted by shooters, okay? But let's dive into the history so you have some context, you know, all the background. That's what I'm here for. That's what you're here for. So let's do it. The 300 blackout was created by AAC, which stands for Advanced Armament Corporation, okay, in collaboration with Remington Defense in 2008 to address limitations of the 5.56 NATO round in short barrel rifles and suppressed firearms, okay. The cartridge was designed to use like your standard AR magazines, your standard AR parts and components. The only thing it required was a barrel change, which allow for easy integration into your existing rifle. So let's say you have a 5.56 AR-15. If you want to shoot 300 blackout, you don't have to go and buy a whole nother rifle. You can just buy an upper or a barrel and switch out the barrel, and you can shoot 300 blackout. All right. So its design is based on the 5.56 NATO cartridge. Okay, it's basically a neck up 5.56 to accept a 30 caliber bullet, basically. Okay, which that 30 caliber bullet would provide improved terminal ballistics and energy retention at shorter ranges. Okay, the concept of 300 blackout though, that has a lot of history. So back in I think 1968, right? You had 300 Whisper, 300 and 221 Fireball, which were all Wildcat cartridges. Okay, they were developed for like efficient performance in short barrels and subsonic applications. All right. And I do have to correct myself. I think it was not 1968. It was 1963 when the 300 and 221 Fireball was actually introduced, and it was based on the 221 Remington Fireball, and later necked up to a 308-inch bullet. Okay. The 300 Blackout was approved by SAMI in 2011 and the CIP in 2015. Its first known military adoption occurred in 2015 by the Dutch Maritime Special Operations Force, when they acquired integrally suppressed SIG MCX carbines chambered in 300 Blackout. Okay, the UK Ministry of Defense also issued tenders for 300 Blackout ammunition in 2017, which caused, and we spoke about this in the last video, civilians normally do what? Follow law enforcement and military, right? So when those military agencies adopted the 300 Blackout, civilians were right behind them, okay? So civilian shooters quickly embraced the cartridge for hunting, home defense, and tactical applications, all right? Appreciating like its versatility in both supersonic and subsonic loads, because that's what makes the 300 Blackout so special, is it's versatile, okay? So if you're a hunter and you want a short barrel rifle that can still reach out a little bit but provide that energy on target, then you're shooting 300 Blackout supersonics probably. If you're hog hunting at night, you can try shooting some subsonics. It may work depending on how close you are to those hogs and depending on bullet placement and things of that nature. But most hunters that are using 300 Blackout are shooting supersonic, okay? On the other end of that spectrum of versatility of 300 Blackout, the subsonic, You're talking about CQB. The United States Navy was the first in the U.S. to adopt the 300 Blackout to use with their special operation forces to do ship clearing and things of that nature. Prior to that, they were using sub guns chambered at 9 millimeter. So the 300 Blackout just gave them some more oomph, when clearing those ships and doing CQB and things of that nature. All right. But let's talk about some of the key advantages the 300 Blackout was designed to overcome. It was designed to overcome the limitations of 5.56 NATO in close quarters combat, like we just spoke about, particularly in short barrel rifles and suppressed firearms. So it offers effective subsonic performance for suppressed shooting. It's compatible with standard AR-15 magazines and bolts. It's got improved terminal ballistics in short barrels, and it offers a lot of versatility for both civilian and military applications. All right. So let's talk about some of the advantages of 5.56 over 300 Blackout. So first, we got to start with long range performance and trajectory. The 5.56 fires lighter bullets than the 300 Blackout, typically between 55 and 77 grains, whereas the 300 Blackouts typically between 125 to about 220 grains, typically. Okay. And 5.56 has a higher velocity, about 2,900 to 3,100 feet per second from a 16-inch barrel, which obviously results in a flatter trajectory than what the 300 Blackout would offer. It makes it significantly easier to engage targets accurately at ranges exceeding 300 to 500 yards. Obviously, we all know 5.56 can go further than 500 yards. I think the longest that I would say with still having good terminal ballistics is probably about 6 to 650. It can go further than that. I've seen shooters shoot it further than that, but where you lose when you start getting it further out is, okay, how much energy does it have on impact the further I shoot this thing out? Whereas 300 Blackout kind of excels within 200 to 300 yards because the bullet's so heavy, okay, and it's got a lower velocity to it, okay. 5.56 has lower recoil, giving you faster follow-up shots. That's another advantage. Ammunition availability and cost. 5.56 NATO is one of the most widely produced cartridges globally, okay. So it's very popular. That's going to ensure the cost stays down on it. Everyone uses it. All militaries all over the world have some version of a 5.56 rifle in their arsenal. Okay, civilians as well. Whereas 300 Blackout is very specialized, and it does have some military adoption to it. So hopefully those prices start to come down. I hope sooner than later. But you're talking double the price, at least, for 300 Blackout over 5.56, okay? Versatility in training and high volume shooting. Due to its low cost, 5.56 is ideal for high volume range training, competition, small game hunting. That low cost helps you out there, whereas 300 Blackout, not so much, right? Reduce risk of over penetration in urban settings. So this is a tricky one. You got to be comparing apples to apples, because some people will say, well, 300 Blackout is it's not going to over penetrate as much because it's a heavier bullet. Well, not necessarily true. Because it's a heavier bullet, depending on what type of round you're shooting, it could travel further. If you're using a full metal jacket, Supersonic 150 grain 300 Blackout, that thing's going through whatever you're shooting at and whatever's behind it. Okay, it's a heavy bullet, traveling kind of fast. It's going to keep going. Whereas if you compare apples to apples and you have soft points, say a 62 grain soft point 5.56 and a 220 grain soft point 300 Blackout, then now you're comparing apples to apples. In that case, 5.56 will probably be better for over penetration and things of that nature in an urban setting. Okay, so 5.56 excels at long range engagements. It's got cost effective training, low recoil, and readily available ammo. Okay, so as you can see, as depicted in the animation, you can see why these two rounds bump heads. In real life, they bump heads. They offer some of the same advantages and they can do some of the same things, but they have totally different ways of going about it. So let's talk about 223 now, okay? 223 and 5.56 are very similar cartridges, okay? They have some key differences in chamber pressure and throat length and intended use, okay? So when 5.56 was being widely used by the United States military during the Vietnam era, shortly after Vietnam, well, kind of in the middle of Vietnam, they introduced 223 for the civilian market, okay? But like I said, the most notable difference lies in pressure and chamber dimensions. Whereas 223, you're looking at about 55,000 psi, and 5.56, you're looking at about 62,000 psi. Also, 5.56 has a longer throat than 223, which kind of allows for high pressure rounds to feed reliably and shoot reliably in military firearms. So it's very important that you don't get those two mixed up because of the pressure differences. If you have a barrel that's chambered in 5.56, it can shoot 5.56 and 223 because it's already chambered for that high pressure. However, if your barrel is marked for 223, you're going to be shooting 223 only through that and not 5.56. It's not going to be able to handle the pressure of the 5.56. Well, that's where things get kind of complicated because now we have 223 WOW barrels. If you have a 223 WOW barrels, it can handle both of those, okay? But 223 was more designed for precision, okay? It typically achieves a slightly higher velocity with lighter bullets, okay? At shorter ranges than 5.56. 5.56 is preferred in tactical or general purpose use. 223 is often favored in precision shooting, varmint hunting, due to the tighter tolerances and lower recoil than 5.56. Okay. So let's end this thing off like we always do. I got some spicy rounds here. Okay. All except the 223. It's not much spicy you can get in that. Okay. Take a look at those. I'm gonna put them up to the camera. Make sure you can get a good picture of them. Get my finger out the top of it. So that red tip one is your 300 Blackout. All right. The green tip is going to be your 5.56, and the one that doesn't have color is going to be 223. All right. So you can see the differences. You can see that 300 Blackout is obviously shorter than your 5.56. And your 5.56, you can see that the throat is slightly longer than the 223. All the things that we talked about in the video. Okay. All right. So I hope I educated you on something today. And maybe you got something from this video. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you knew all the stuff already, which is fine. But there's a lot of newer shooters who watch my channel, and I want to make sure they get the proper education. I appreciate all you guys. It's your boy, that gun guy again, signing off. Peace.